In number 14, we are taking a look at this underlined portion, and there's basically two things that we're evaluating here. We're evaluating which its we need to use and what punctuation we need to use, right? So let's read the sentence and then figure that out. It took me by surprise then when my favorite exhibit at the museum was one of its tiniest. So we can have either it's with the apostrophe or without, right? If it's with the apostrophe, that's a contraction. It's not possessive, right? It's a contraction. It apostrophe s means it is or it has. So does it make sense to say when my favorite exhibit at the museum was one of it is tiniest? No. The exhibit is a part of the museum, right? It belongs to the museum. So we want to do the possessive its. That would be this without an apostrophe, because we're saying that the exhibit is part of the museum. So we definitely want to change it from this, so we don't want A, and we don't want D either, because it also has the its with the apostrophe. So between B and C, we're looking at a colon or semicolon. Let's remind ourselves that you can only put a semicolon if what comes before and after are both complete independent sentences. Let's see if that's the case. What's before the semicolon? It took me by surprise then when my favorite exhibit at the museum was one of its tiniest. That's a full sentence. You have your subject, it, you have your verb, took, and then object, me by surprise, and then all that sort of describing it. It's definitely a complete independent sentence. But what about what comes after? The Thorn Miniature Rooms. That's not a complete sentence. Here you pretty much only have a subject. There's no verb. You need a subject and a verb to make a complete sentence, and that is lacking here. So we can't actually put a semicolon. So B is out, and that leaves us with C. And why does a colon here work? Well, you put a colon when you're about to either list something or do some kind of like you're specifying whatever you just talked about, which is exactly what we're doing here, right? We're saying that when my favorite exhibit at the museum was one of its tiniest. What exhibit? The Thorn Miniature Rooms. You see how this sort of just expands on what was mentioned before? That's how you use your colon, and that's why we want C.